Hey guys, so great to see you again. Today we kind of just want to talk to you a little bit about Thanksgiving and sort of the idea behind what it is to be grateful, right? I think in the days and times that we're living in, it's really hard sometimes to sort of wrap our heads around the craziness because for the most part, we're living in unprecedented times. We're living in times that we never thought, or at least I never thought, that I would be living in. I never considered that one day I'd be living in a situation or in a place where we would be so scared just to go out and interact with people, that we would be so scared to even just gather around a table and be joyful and to talk loudly and to sing and to do all these things that we're so used to doing when we get together with loved ones, be them friends or family or both. I just never thought that we would get to a place in time where this would be actively discouraged by people in places of authority. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes this week, this Wednesday, to just encourage you and to say Thanksgiving, at the end of the day, is about having a grateful heart, having a grateful attitude. And however you decide to celebrate, and again, that's between you and your loved ones, you and your conscience, how you feel. I'm from the school of thought that all these things, these guidelines that they've placed, they're helpful, but we have to do what we know is right at the end, right? If you feel that it's right to stay away, stay away. And if you feel that it's right to come together, come together. But do what you know in your heart is the right thing to do. So I just encourage you that whatever you decide to do this week, this Thanksgiving, this time of giving thanks, to not forget that it's about the attitude of your heart. It's about your mindset. It's about how you view the world. And are you viewing it from a place of loss? Are you viewing it from a place of what you don't have and what you're not gonna get and what's not available to you? Or are you viewing it from the perspective of having and living and being and blessings? Because at the end of the day, and I know that a lot of people spend their lives comparing themselves to people who have more, and they end up living truly miserable lives. But how about we compare ourselves to how we used to be, maybe for some of us? And if we used to be worse off, and I don't necessarily mean economically, right? For those of us that have known the Lord for a while, that have had a relationship with Jesus for a while now, are our lives better now or back when we didn't know Jesus, right? And again, I'm not trying to invalidate how anybody's feeling in terms of being, let's say, anxious or depressed or stressed out or worried. That's, those are natural parts of life that we're going to ebb and flow through. And I don't even want to focus again necessarily on the economic blessings, because some of us have lost jobs, some of us have lost work, some of us, are we've been demoted in terms of hours and different things like that. So I know that we're all experiencing something for the most part. But if you didn't have Jesus in your life, if you didn't know God, would you be better off or would you be worse? And so having a little bit of perspective on these things, I think, would be healthy and helpful to us in this time, in these holidays, because it's not just Thanksgiving, right? In a few weeks, we're going to be celebrating Christmas, and then it's going to be the New Year. And then, we're going to see what God has for us in the coming months. And so throughout this entire season, I think we just need to be mindful of the fact that, I might not have everything that I want, but I have enough. And I might not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And I might not be who I want to be, but I'm not who I used to be. And despite whatever trials and tribulations and things are going on in my life right now, at the end of the day, I still have a God that offers me peace if I'm willing to accept it, if I'm willing to receive it. I still have a God that promises that even in dark times and in dark places, He is my joy. And the salvation that I have through Him is joy, a fount of joy. We experience things on a different level and in a different way because we have a relationship with God. I want to talk to you just really briefly about the tabernacle. And if you're not familiar with the tabernacle in the Bible, I just encourage you to take some time to do a little bit of research on that. It will be an incredible teaching to you if you are able to research and take time to look at the different parts of the tabernacle, the different purposes behind the different parts of the tabernacle. But essentially, the tabernacle was the place where they housed the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant, of course, represents the glory and the presence of God. So, for those of you that are not familiar at all with what I'm talking about, way back in the day, in the Old Testament, when the Jews were led out of Egypt, and they were in the desert, the Lord spoke to Moses. And when God spoke to Moses, his intention was for Moses to build a tent where he could reside, the presence of God could reside amongst the people. And so he gave them all these plans and all these dimensions, and essentially he gave them the blueprints for how to build the house of the Lord. And so this was the tabernacle. Now the tabernacle is just a temporary house before God eventually ends up in the Jewish temple that we see later on. But before the Jewish temple, there was the tabernacle, and this was again the temporary housing that would be amongst the people, so that God could dwell amongst the people of God. And so essentially we have three different parts, right? We have the outer court, the inner court, and the holies of holies. And the holies of holies, which is the inner court, the most inner place, that's where the Ark of the Covenant was. Again, the Ark of the Covenant represents the presence of God, the glory of God. And then from there you had the inner court, and that's where the priests would minister inside the tent. And then you have the outer court, and that's sort of where the sacrifices would go on. And that's where where anyone could come. And so we can see, or we can transpose these three layers of the Holy of Holies, the inner court and the outer court. We can transpose them onto the concepts of worship, which would represent the most inner place, the most holy place, and then praise, which would be the inner court, and then thanksgiving, which would be the outer court. And the reason that we can do that, or that we would do that, is because the outer court was a place where everyone could come. And the reason that everyone was allowed is because everyone, Jew and or Gentile, anyone that wanted to, anybody that believed in Jehovah, anybody that believed in offering sacrifices to God, wanting to be forgiven, or even just wanting to offer an offering of fellowship, an offering of thanksgiving, or anything along those lines. It didn't matter who you were. If you believed in Jehovah and you wanted to participate, you could come and you could participate in the outer court. And in the outer court, you could give thanks to God. In the outer court, and I have taught this to the people that I've mentored through praise and worship. I've taught this to them in the sense of that the reason that everybody was allowed, and you didn't have to be a priest in order to be there and to participate, you didn't have to be a priest. And the reason for that was because everyone had a reason to give thanks to God. Everyone. In fact, in a recent study that I was doing with our youth here in our student ministries activity recently, we were talking about Romans 1, and it was talking about how everyone has been invited. Like, nobody's left out of the invitation that God extends to his creation, right? So to humanity, there's not a single human being that has ever lived, that is currently living, or that will ever live, that will be outside of the invitation list, as it were, to join God's family or to be a part of God's army, or however you want to say that. Everyone is invited. Everyone is called to enter into the family and to be saved and to be a part of what God is building and doing on the earth. And so everyone, and it goes on to say that the reason that this is a valid notion, or a valid concept, that the invitation is for everyone, is because God, Paul explains, God has made himself known to every man in one way or another. There's not a single human being that has left this earth without some revelation that there is a God that is bigger than them, that there's something that is beyond them, that there is something that is greater at work in creation, in the universe. And he says that if nothing else, we've been given the creation and the universe as proof, positive, that there is something bigger and something greater out there than just ourselves. And so because he's made himself known to a certain degree, because God has made himself known to everyone, then everyone is invited. And therefore, using that scriptural basis, we can understand that everyone then has something to give thanks to God for. Because if nothing else, the fact that you're alive, the fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still breathing is proof positive that God has something for you, that God has a plan for you, that God has a good future and a hope that he wants to give you. He wants you to come into the light. He wants you to be a part of something bigger than yourself, something that will make you more whole and more healthy and more complete in him. And so everyone has something to give thanks to God for. And so that is how that's the theology that I base my understanding of the tabernacle and the scriptures that we have on the tabernacle, and why there were 3 different sections, and why some sections were reserved for only certain people. So for instance, the inner sanctum can only be entered by the high priest, and then the inner court, which is the second part, could only be entered through by priests, not just the high priest, but the other priests. And then the outer court, again, is the place where priests and lay people, like your average person, could come. And again, the reason is that all are welcome, right? All are invited. All are being extended a hand of hope from our God. Everyone is being called into the light by Jesus, and through Jesus, by grace through faith, as the scripture says. And so this time of celebration should be a time, again, where we try to remind ourselves to maintain a perspective of gratitude, in the sense of, again, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. I may not be who I want to be, but at least I'm not who I used to be. And even though I don't have everything I want, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm blessed, and I have enough. God is providing in his own way, and opening doors in his own way and in his own time, and doing things that we don't deserve and we're not worthy of, but because we've trusted in him, because we've chosen to receive Jesus as our personal Lord and Savior, because we've decided to embrace the righteousness of God, which is Jesus Christ, and our righteousness. He does things that nobody else can do. He's the God of the impossible, right? He's the God that turns things around, even our own messes and our own stuff that we do that is silly and stupid and just outright bad judgments and mistakes. He steps into our mess and he turns it around. And so there's nothing that we can go through and nothing that we can't experience that he won't help us through or walk us through or get us to a better place. So again, I just want to encourage you, try to approach these holidays, these weeks, upcoming weeks, from an attitude of gratefulness, because everybody has something to be grateful for. Everybody has something. And if you are looking at your life right now and you're thinking, Pastor Jesse, I have nothing to be grateful for. I have nothing to be grateful for. First of all, let me just say I'm so sorry to hear that you feel that way. And secondly, just I encourage you to pray that the Lord would help you see the blessings in your life, because there are blessings, whether you realize it or not. There are blessings, and to be able to see those and perceive those and receive those will go a long way in lifting your spirits and lifting your hearts and healing your mind and bringing peace to your soul. So I just, again, I want to encourage you to find that perspective where you know, the place from which you stand, where you can actually see the blessings of God, and not just see them, but embrace them and enjoy them. So again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And in the coming weeks, we bless you. We're praying for you. We hope that you can join us here. We are still open. I just want to remind you really quickly that here in San Angelo, we are still having church, and if you'd like to stop by, we have it on Sundays, prayer at 9 and our bilingual service at 10, and on Wednesdays we have prayer at 6 and our study at 7. Well, like I said, we're going to hold off on the life and teachings of Christ just for a little while we get our student preachers some practicum behind the pulpit, and so we'll be bringing their preachings to you for the next few Sundays, and then for the next few Wednesdays. And then after that, like I said, we'll see where we're going to go with the study. I hope you've been blessed. Know that we love you. Know that we're praying for you. Know that we hope to hear from you and see you hopefully in the sanctuary real soon. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that way you can get notifications from us whenever new content is being uploaded. Again, we love you guys, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.